Secretary, I have to ask you, because you were sort of deep in this work. We've been talking all hour about what happens if Republicans win when it comes to any host of issues. If some of these secretaries of state win, what is it actually going to mean for our democracy?
I mean, it's a five-alarm fire. It means that we will have people in charge of our democracy who don't believe in democracy, people who have shown already through their actions in 2020 that they will not stand by or support the will of the people if they don't agree with it. Now, what this also means is, and what we can expect them to do, is implement policies that make voting more confusing, use their platforms as an opportunity to spread misinformation, and then stand in the way or potentially block the certification of election results, particularly in 2024's presidential election, if they, for whatever reason, disagree with the will of the people.
You've walked us through the life cycle of an election. I'm particularly interested in the fact that you have far-right groups weaponizing that mistrust and actually training thousands of poll workers. Your sense of what that's going to mean for the process?
Well, in all things, we have to remember that the law and the Constitution are squarely on the side of democracy. And there are protections in place to ensure voter intimidation, wherever it comes from, is illegal, and will work to enforce that law. And there are also efforts to ensure that if poll workers, the poll workers are employees of the local communities that they serve. And if they violate the law, they could be removed even in the middle of an election day. So we have plans in place to ensure if there are that the poll workers are clear what their roles and responsibilities are, and if they depart from them or in any way break the law or violate their the ethical responsibilities of election workers, that they'll be removed. And we have people on standby ready to step in and replace poll workers in case they don't show up or are removed.
Your GOP rival has accused you of using voter mules, allowing dead people to cast ballots. I just wonder how you run against someone who's not living in the same reality.
Yeah, I think it's a question of truth versus lies and conspiracy theories versus facts and experience in defending democracy in a time like this. I mean, my opponent is someone who did not stand by the results of the election in 2020, still to this day, and actually in 2020 was trying to stop valid votes from being counted. She peddles in conspiracy theories and has no vision for how she would run the Department of State other than to say her agenda would be driven by her own personal politics. And this is not unique to Michigan. We see similar folks running to take these positions, as you mentioned, in Arizona, in Nevada, and in Minnesota. And so this is, again, the moment where voters who are upset or perhaps concerned about our democracy need to step up and ensure that those defending our democracy in the future are serving as secretaries of state, not those who would deny the right to vote for voters all across this country.
You know, it strikes me that just last night, President Biden called out Republicans for harassing lawmakers and election officials like yourself. Take a listen.
We're at one of those inflection points in history where we've reached a point where there has been such a division that you have what I call the mega MAGA Republicans who are think that it's all right to threaten violence, think that's not inappropriate, talk about how they are concerned about security, but yet you saw what happened on January 6th. The whole world saw it. But I think there's reason for concern.
I wonder both how worried you are for your own security, for your employees this fall. And I both understand the stakes are very high, but I also understand that you personally have a lot at stake. Like, why stay in it? Why continue to fight?
Yeah, I mean, it is exhausting, and it's hard to always be looking over your shoulder and be on edge and prepared to, withstand any potential attacks, threats, or harassment. This is what we've been dealing with. This has been our normal for over 2 years now. But the reality is, and I know we've talked before, I started my career in Selma, Alabama, and the truth of defending our democracy over time really runs through our history. That people need to be willing to stand on the front lines, and it is the case in Selma in 1965, even faced down billy clubs and tear gas, just so we could have a right to vote. So I have these moments, as we all do, where we're overwhelmed with the challenges that are facing us, but they're really challenges that are facing our democracy. And as someone who signed up to guard democracy as Michigan Secretary of State, I embrace those challenges and work to use them to make us stronger and connect us with those who've defended democracy throughout the history of our country.